Saying Liverpool's season hasn't gone to plan is a bit of an understatement. After an impressive start to the season, it looked as if the champions were ready to repeat their impressive performance from last year. However, 3 points from a possible 21, including 6 home losses in a row, has seen them slip out of top place, to an extent that even Champions League qualification is no longer guaranteed. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at what's going on with the champions, and if there's more to their downfall than just a very extensive injury list. Jurgen Klopp's time at Liverpool has been one of the best in the club's history. From a struggling side under Brendan Rodgers, they've regained their status as one of the best clubs in Europe, picking up the Champions League in 2019 and the Premier League last season. And at the start of this season, Liverpool looked set to repeat this success, and were tipped to beat Manchester City to the title. They seem to be performing just as well without their main defensive partnership of Van Dijk and Gomez. However, a record-breaking 6 home losses in a row have shattered this aura of invincibility that Jurgen Klopp had built in his 5-year tenure. The club currently sits in 8th place, and with a return to more convincing form nowhere in sight, it's difficult to tell what the club's expectations are for the remainder of the season. To fully grasp how big a drop in quality the club have been through, let's take a look at their statistics compared to last season. Liverpool are currently on 43 points, a whopping 36 points less than at this stage last year, and their worst in the past 7 seasons. One of the key factors of Liverpool's play is their high press, and this season we've seen a drop off in that intensity. Compared to last season, they complete roughly 9% less pressures per 90, making it easier for other teams to advance through midfield. And in general are pressing less both in the attacking third and midfield third. We'll examine why later on in the video. Liverpool have now lost 9 games this season, which is equivalent to their past 3 seasons combined. One statistic that helps paint the struggles that they've had this season is the number of different lineups Klopp has been forced to play this season, and so far, 26 different back-four partnerships have been used, by far the most in the league. To further understand why they've had such a big drop in form, it's also important to highlight the big injury problems that the club has faced. They've had to complete the current season with a number of key players being out. Most notably, the absence of Virgil van Dijk has been one that they've struggled without, and will have to do without until the end of the season. Joe Gomez and Matip are also out for the remainder of the season, while Fabinho, Jota, Milner and Henderson have also been out for some time. Before going any further, let's take a look at how these injuries have affected Liverpool, and the changes in their tactics that Jurgen Klopp has been forced to make. First off, in previous seasons, Liverpool would primarily press from the front and force the opposition into mistakes high up the pitch, in order to create quick chances for the 3 forwards. This was largely allowed to happen by both Wijnaldum and Henderson, who were excellent at closing down the space and regaining possession. However, this season they've had to make do with Thiago and Jones, who've often been caught out of position or lacking the intensity that Henderson and Wijnaldum would usually have. In order to reduce these gaps, it has led to the midfield being more conservative at times, and in a high-pressing team, this will often leave a lot of space for the opposition to move the ball upfield. Something that was highly evident in their game against Chelsea, where Kante and Jorginho were often left in plenty of space and able to rapidly hit Liverpool on the counter. In order for the high press to be effective, the team must also be able to play with a high line, given that this will close the space needed for the opposition to advance. Van Dijk and Gomez were perfect in a high line last season, as both were quick enough to close down the space and intercept any long balls. With Henderson and Fabinho playing at the back, Liverpool have been a lot more vulnerable to long balls, given that the two are not as comfortable in the air compared to Van Dijk and Gomez. All this results in Liverpool turning over possession a lot less frequently than they did last season, which as a consequence has also hindered their attacking play. While last season Trent and Robertson were the key to creating chances for the strikers and would be the main source of width for Liverpool, this season the defensive issues have forced them to play in a deeper position, and as a result, Trent will usually move alongside the back 2 to start their attack. Last season, the back 3 was formed with Fabinho dropping deep, allowing Trent to push up in unison with Robertson. It may seem like this is the best solution to help with the defensive issues. However, the knock-on effects of this are staggering. Last season, Trent would play almost on the same line as the strikers, and with Henderson drifting out wide for support, the opposing team was forced to commit a high number of players on the flank, and would result in Trent completing a high number of switches to find Robertson in space. However, this season, with Trent in a deeper role, the opposition isn't forced to pack players on the wing, and is able to more easily cover the switch. By looking at Trent's passing stats, we can see the changes that are occurring, with the English right-back providing more progressive passes but fewer crosses. Obviously, all these injuries have been one of the key reasons as to why Liverpool have struggled to keep consistent form. However, is there more of a reason as to why all these injuries are happening? To further understand this, it's important to take a look at Jurgen Klopp's record from his previous clubs. Specifically, let's take a look at his last season at Borussia Dortmund. Jurgen Klopp brought an incredible amount of success to Borussia Dortmund, picking up 2 league titles, the German Cup and the Champions League final. However, his last season in charge was definitely one to forget, finishing 7th after being second from bottom at the winter break. It was a season that was similarly affected by injuries to key players, and there's reason to believe that some of these injuries could be down to the high energy football that Klopp demands from his players. Obviously, injuries such as the one that happened to Virgil van Dijk are unavoidable, but muscle injuries to James Milner and Jordan Henderson could be down to overuse. This idea of overuse can also be summed up by the concept of burnout. Burnout is definitely a term that we're all familiar with, and it may be something that we've all experienced to some extent either in sport or in our daily lives. But the literature in sports psychology has aimed to flesh out this concept and has developed a clear definition and causes for athlete burnout. Burnout can be defined as a withdrawal from sport, noted by a reduced sense of accomplishment, a devaluation of sport, and a physical and psychological exhaustion. Let's break it down even further and try and compare it to what we see in Liverpool right now. Emotional exhaustion is associated to intense training and competition. It's no secret that Jurgen Klopp demands a lot from his players, and the past 3 seasons the team has been going non-stop in every competition that they're in. This season, they started with the same aggression and confidence that we've become accustomed to. However, when the club started to really feel the injuries, the team almost certainly was clocked into overdrive, trying to cover all the holes in the team and being forced to play in a position that they're not comfortable with. It may seem like a non-issue, but playing out of position for extended periods of time can be relatively taxing psychologically, given the extra concentration and effort it takes to fill a role that you haven't intentionally practiced. Add to that the whole team having to adapt to the different players around them, such as the 26 different defensive partnerships this season, and a team that's firing on all cylinders can almost overnight look extremely exhausted. Secondly, the reduced performance accomplishment stems from a player or athlete's believed skills and abilities. This is something that for me is visible in a player like Sadio Mane. Mane has been one of Liverpool's best players over the past few seasons, and the team could always rely on his pace and finishing to get them out of any sticky situation. This season, however, he's lacked the cutting edge that set him apart, and he looks void of any confidence or belief in his play. It seems as if he's doubting his every move and looks hesitant in certain situations where he would excel last season. The best thing an athlete can do to recover from burnout is to take a break from the sport. Unfortunately for Liverpool, this isn't possible, and with a packed fixture list until the end of the season, there's no easy way out for the club and Jurgen Klopp. Having said that, what do you think their main issues have been this season, and do you think the injuries are all to blame? Please let me know in the comments down below, and if you like this type of video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.